friends, have no fear, I am not Captain America. I know, you might be surprised at this, but I am actually Rob the Dungeon Tutor. This is my hat for the day, so yes. Also, I'm Omnisci from my Lair of Omnisci YouTube channel, where you're probably seeing this now. But I am answering a question for RPGaDay. Today is the 25th, which means we're winding down. Not many videos left for this year in 2022. But, again, doing the videos basically to be a good citizen and, you know, maybe talk about myself a little bit, and you can understand some of the creative processes that go around inside my head. In this case, though, my question for today is, where has my character been? And this is a question regarding the character that I've been talking about so far, Ankilius the Shaker from the solo RPG Colossal. Because as a forever DM, that's really what I'm playing right now. Where has he been? Not very far is the ultimate answer. I've only just started playing this. It involves a fair amount of writing, and I really only do it while I'm on lunch at work. So, a limited amount of time. But it does give me a creative outlet, which is important, I think. So as of right now, he's only been about 500 yards of travel through woods. He started out in his home village of Graham, and he was told to go out there into the wilds and find out more about our enemies, the rooks, that are also our greatest power source, and you know, all the things that we need in our society come from harvesting these rooks, which are insanely dangerous because they're these enormous walking automatons that look like towers, and they have magical powers. They can crush and squish you. Now, my character is trained to fight these things. He is a rook hunting knight, and he has the benefit of having stolen some of their powers, and he can create vibrations and shake things. So he has a chance against these things. He's actually really good at the fighting. He's been trained as a knight, so he's solid. But he's not very good at the whole exploration thing. He doesn't get very far. He gets caught up in whatever he sees, whereas somebody who is better trained at the exploration may have multiple encounters through the course of a chapter. But there's no really limit on chapters, so it really doesn't terribly hurt him in the end. And all of these encounters are determined from a deck of cards, and I take the prompts that the cards dictate and actually write out the story of what Ankh experiences, which is fine. But since I can't really talk a great deal about where Ankh has been, he, like I said, about 500 yards through the trees, and then he has an encounter with a rival knight who is trying to beat him up so he can't go any further in his quest and has to return home licking his wounds. That's not going to happen. I've already drawn the cards for the combat, and my character wins decidedly. Thumps him with his hammer to do it. But I get to write all of that out and script it, and I do love dialogue in combat, so it will probably get a good 5 or 6 pages just from that encounter alone. And then after that, I have another encounter with him meeting somebody who wants to be helpful or wants to travel with him. So that'll be interesting. I haven't come up with that concretely yet, but I think it'll be okay. But in this case, I'll talk more about Colossal, because I think the world is interesting. And realistically, with a solo RPG, most of them have very simple mechanics. They have a bunch of tables that tell you what happens. Now, if it's something that's designed to work with another system, for example, there are solo RPG systems that are in place that you can place over another game system. Like, say you want to play Dungeons and Dragons, but solo. It's actually really easy to do. There's a number of these systems in place that have all the tables you'd ever need, all the different things that you can encounter. And then you roll dice like you would if you were playing the game, but everything is resolved by dice rolls. So you roll to see if you successfully talk to somebody, if they're going to like you, or if they're going to be hostile to you. Every aspect of the exchange is rolled upon, or whatever mechanics they use. In Colossal, they use draws from a deck of cards, and you fill in the details. They won't offer great dialogue, for instance, because it's all random. So there's only so much they can do. You have to fill in a lot of the blanks yourself, which makes it more, again, a series of writing prompts or mechanical processes that don't deliver on the full flexibility of what you could do with a proper game master, but they at least allow you to experience some amount of interplay with the system and build up a character and watch them progress and enjoy the journey and so on. So I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I just, again, don't find them to be as satisfying as a role-playing game. But let me tell you about Colossal, because this world is quite interesting. Colossal, as far as a world, it's a small book. There's not a huge amount of lore in it. And they hint that if you join up with their server, they are expanding and expounding upon that. I'm personally going to wait till they actually put out something more. And I hope they do. But the world that they have is kind of neat. You are a human. Everybody's a human. And the civilization is kind of a medieval advanced stage. You have domesticated animals, are possible, no problem. Tools, crafts, sure. But nothing machined, really. Because your civilization is kind of in a state of stasis. Most of their needs for anything more than the most basic crafts are taken care of by things they salvage from these massive rooks that are hunted down, and when they're defeated, assuming that the hunters survive the process, they are quite dangerous. They provide either rook stones, which power the kind of things people need. So if you need refrigeration and you find a rook who has a freeze stone, you can take that and use that, and a proper rooksmith can turn those into devices. My character is capable of doing that. Can make devices out of these things that they salvage from the rooks. The stone the rooks are made out of is excellent for building material, and a lot of the civilization of the world really revolves on this stone tack from these rooks that are entirely made out of stone. So that's like a walking quarry. If you can get them to near your town, defeat them, you can have all the building material you need for quite some time. The concept itself is kind of barmy in its own way, a little loony. That you live inside of a room your entire life, unless you're one of those people who does go off and explore. But rooms can take days to months to cross, depending on your means. One of the classes you can take is called the Mounted. You build a device that uses parts from a rook, and it could be a vehicle, it can be a legged mount or steed. You can decide all of that as you go. And it gives you a huge range of encounters that you can have. They have the best encounter statistic. But, there has to be a but, they're terrible at combat. They're not nearly as good as my character is. So there's a trade-off there, and that is very much the core of the game. It is a trade-off. You either have the best in combat and the worst in exploration, vice versa, or a happy middle in between. And that's basically it. I mean, there's no hard statistics in the game. When you fight, you are directed, because everybody has a weapon. You either defeat your enemy with magic. With my character, that makes it fairly easy how I would win. Unarmed combat, with your weapon, or through some sort of cleverness or special that you have. Which is cool. I mean, it stops you from saying, okay, I point at my enemy and I turn him into a pile of giblets. Over and over and over again. That would be awfully boring if my character just used his ability to create explosions to beat all of his enemies. It's not really what I want to do with him anyhow. But for somebody who has, less imagination, who thinks, well, yeah, I want to make a wizard who just blows everything up. Think Tim the Enchanter from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's the game doesn't do that. The game tells you how you end up winning. So, and of course you can go off the script, certainly. You're playing a solo game. You win as you want to win. You lose as you want to lose. So if you lose, you can say you run away, rather than I'm going to sit here and get wounded and have to crawl away or die. You never die unless you want to. There's no death in Colossal unless you will it. So, like, when my character confronts this rival knight, I'm not going to kill him. Even though I'm going to hit him with a hammer, it's going to be to stun him, make him drop his weapon so that I can kick him back and tell him that he just got beat by somebody who's a knight-elect, not even of his standing, and I'm still beating him, even without using my helm. So the world is kind of fascinating. The idea that you can go to a wall and look up, and there's a window, but it's, you know, hundreds and hundreds of feet up. And if you keep looking up and up, at the very center of the room, there's this hanging brazier which provides light to the room. And it gets dim at night. It has a night and day cycle, which is kind of cool in its own way. And if you really get the right circumstance, maybe you could even climb up into the rafters, which there's an entire ecosystem up there, which is kind of scary. There's some neat little elements to this game. But the idea of having a single room that could be populated with forests and hills and mountains and streams, or you can go into a room that's one huge ocean, or a room that's one vast desert. It's intriguing. The kind of magic that goes into the imagination that came up with all of this premise. And I'm actually kind of interested to see how the ride goes. As I said, it's testing my imagination, something to keep me producing things and working, which is good. So I'm looking forward to it. But that character, still pretty fresh. We'll see how it goes. So, thank you for joining me. I'm Rob the Dungeon Tutor. Not Captain America, remember. Rob the Dungeon Tutor. And I will hopefully see you when I do another one of these videos. Still a few more days left in August, so still a few more videos left to make. Until next time, my friends, thank you and farewell.